Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shante Bell. I am the North Central Regional Consultant for Apprenticeship MC. I am the consultant for your program with the Independent Garage Association. I'm going to go over a little bit of basics on apprenticeship, and I will show you what your program entails. And if you guys have any further questions, please feel free to ask, okay? So my first slide is let me actually start this. You guys see it as started, and I see it as not started, but that's fine. Okay, so the first slide is my information. If you guys would like to give me a call, shoot me an email. If you have any further questions at another time, feel free to do so. And so we're going to start with what is registered apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is a system of work-based learning designed to meet the needs of the employer by providing the employer with structured on-the-job learning and job-related education. There's 5 components of registered apprenticeship. The first component is business involvement. We cannot have a program without the involvement of the business. And the program should mimic exactly what the company needs to be for the apprentice to be successful inside of your business. The second component is related instruction. The related instruction aspect is the seated instruction. That portion of it can come from the community college. It can be things that you do in-house. It can be something that's outsourced. It can be online. There's not a lot that it doesn't encompass. Even like orientations and things like that, if it's a seated type of instruction, it can count toward your related instruction goal. And for every year of a program, it is required by USDOL that there is at least 144 hours of the related instruction. And then there is, the third component is the structured on-the-job training. That's basically the outline of what the on-the-job process looks like. And the rewards for skills gained, that's just basically a progressive wage scale. You start off with the journeyman's rate, and the journeyman's rate is what you would pay someone who has all of the education and maybe 3 or 4 years of experience in the trade. Whatever that wage is that you would pay someone coming off the street would be your journeyman's rate. And from that journeyman's rate, there's only 2 requirements throughout the program. Is that when you start your apprentice off, they have to make at least 50% of that journeyman's rate, and the very last year of their program, the beginning of the last year of their program, they have to make at least 85% of that journeyman's rate. Y'all's program is actually only a 2-year program, so you really only need those 2 increments, the 50 and the 85. It can always be more, but it can never be less. And then the 5th component of registered apprenticeship is the national occupational credentials. Once an apprentice is complete with the program, they will receive a certification from USDOL. They will also receive a certification from the North Carolina Community College Systems Office. And they will also receive a journeyman's card that they can use throughout the nation that's acceptable by USDOL. So I'm going to go into the program that we have with the Independent Garage Association. All members of the Independent Garage Association are welcome to be a part of the apprenticeship program. This is the outline of courses. This is the basic for community colleges for the Automotive Systems Technology program throughout the state. Some colleges may offer a different name for a program or a different course code. If you run into that, please let Trisha know or myself so that we can add that particular community college's program to your existing program with the Independent Garage Association. So these are the classes here. There's another is another page for the classes that are required. The anti-harassment training is not provided by the college, but it is a requirement from Uscillo. And there is, if you guys don't already do some type of anti-harassment training at the facility, there is a PowerPoint and a video on Uscillo's website. I think it's like 5 minutes. But it's required that you show that to your apprentices at least twice, because you guys have a 2-year program. So every year, at least show it once. Okay. And then, oh wait, you guys aren't seeing the screens change. Okay, there you go. So here's your program. That's your related instruction. And here you go. The next slide is the competency checklist, which is basically your on-the-job training. Each bullet item is an on-the-job training bullet. So the engine repair, automatic transmission, manual drive, train axles, all of those things are considered your work process. You guys have a program that is a competency-based program. What that means is that your apprentice can complete the program within a range of hours. So Uscillo says, okay, this occupational code requires for mastery that an apprentice must be in an apprenticeship program for a minimum of 2 years. However, they've developed a hybrid approach so that you don't have, if you think that your apprentice could potentially fulfill the requirements in less than 2 years, they can. It gives you a range, so it's between 1 and 2 years. They can complete the program as early as 1 year, as long as they meet all of the qualifications in every area. If you see the competencies provided, every area has to have a passing rate. It's some type of measurable task. This is the first slide. But anyhow, that can be provided to you by myself or Tricia if you are interested in developing your program. And that is the on the job training. We call it the work process. It's basically on the job training is the easiest way to break it down to you. Here are the competencies. Sorry about that, guys. More competencies here. Okay, and this is just a breakdown of the wage progression as I mentioned before. For example, if your journeyman's rate is $20 an hour, and I just put $20 an hour because it makes life really easy for me to dissect. So if your journeyman's rate is $20 an hour, you have to pay your apprentice at least 50% of that, which would be $10 an hour. The second wage doesn't really matter if it's a 3-year program. And then the 3rd year of the program would, the apprentice would have to make at least $17 an hour, which is that 85% benchmark. And then the standards, there's a set of apprenticeship standards that we follow. It outlines the responsibility of the sponsor, the responsibility of the employer, the responsibility of the apprentice, and the responsibility of apprenticeship in C. Okay, and it just determines the occupation, the length of the occupation, and the type of program, be it time-based, competency-based, or hybrid. And as I mentioned before, you guys actually have a hybrid program. Okay, so now we'll talk a little bit about pre-apprenticeship programs. the pre-apprenticeship program must be approved and registered by Apprenticeship NC with the intent to lead to a registered apprenticeship program. So basically, you have to have a registered apprenticeship program before you can actually have a pre-apprenticeship program, because the idea is that we take the pre-apprenticeship program and give the pre-apprentice just some baseline of what the occupation looks like, so that they can determine whether or not it will be a good fit for them. In turn, if you do a work process, if you do an on-the-job training component to your pre-apprenticeship program, the employer also gets the opportunity to see if the apprentice is actually going to be a good fit for the company.
Shantae, the slide hasn't changed. It's still on the tasks.
Okay, it's still on the task.
It's still on slide 6.
Okay.
And it's also not full screen.
Has it changed yet?
Nope.
That's weird. It's changing quite a bit on my end.
Do you have 2 monitors or just one?
I have 3.
It might be up. It might be up on one of the other monitors, and you might have to drag it over to whatever one you have the Zoom on.
Well, I'm on the Zoom and it's showing the presentation on the Zoom on my screen, and I'm clicking through it on the Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shantae, let me suggest that you restart your share. Oh, it just changed.
It's on. Yeah, it's on slide 16 now, but it's still not full screen. But
Okay, let's see what we can do about that, because now I can't see you guys. What slide is it on? Is it saying
16.
16? Okay. Did it change?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just do it this way. It doesn't matter if I can see it from that screen. As long as it's moving, we're fine. And you guys want a full screen. Let's see if this will make it a full screen. Is it showing the full screen?
No.
If you will restart your share and share the screen that's showing in full screen, when you go to share, it's going to give you the option to be able to see what it is that you want to share. When you share that, if you'll share the one that's in full screen, you should be able to see it and we should be able to see it too.
Okay.
Lucas, you're getting a little too good at this there.
I've only spent at least 4 hours a day for the past 2 months on Zoom. So.
Did that help at all, guys?
That looks awesome.
Okay, great. All right. So here are the slides that you missed. All right.
No worries.
And there's your trainer program for your related instruction. That's more of your related instruction. Here is your competency checklist. In your work process, this is more of your competency checklist. Okay, and then I was talking about the progressive wage scale. And that's the slide for the standards. And this is where we were. This is where we were. So basically, yeah, so as I was saying that in order to have a pre-apprenticeship program, you have to have a registered apprenticeship program first, because the idea is to give the apprentice and the employer an idea of if they will be a good fit for the company and a good fit for that occupation. Okay? And the pre-apprenticeship program can be unpaid or it can be paid. It depends on if they're actually working. If you have them to do a demo at your facility or something like that, where some of the consortiums do something like that. They have like an open house, and then they have the apprentice come for a weekend with their parents or something like that. And then they do like some type of demonstration to see if they actually know what a hammer is or what have you, how to change a tire, things like that. You can have demos like that at your facility to usher in that type of skill set. And yeah, so the program can be on the job training, it can be related instruction. It's not nearly as demanding as the registered apprenticeship program. You can have the related instruction in this one, but you don't have to. You can have the work process, but you don't have to. But you have to have one or the other. And if they're not actually working, you don't have to have a wage scale. Or it can be a combination of all things. And the minimum thing is that the apprentice has to be at least 16 years of age to be a part of the program. And this is the outline of the pre-apprenticeship program that we currently have. This is with Vernon Malone High School in Raleigh. This is the courses that they require the student to take. Maybe you have a high school in your area and you would like to develop a relationship with them and develop a pre-apprenticeship. We could mimic the same type of program throughout the state. And we just need to add it to the program. So once you identify that you would like to have a high school equivalent program with the apprenticeship program in your area, let Trisha know, because she is the manager of your program, and we can take the steps forward to add that to your program. Okay. And this is the on-the-job training portion. As you can see, the hours are very, very much smaller than the registered apprenticeship program. So it's only 132 hours of seated instruction. It's what, 4 courses that they take at high school. And then this is your on-the-job training portion, which is 140 hours. They can do that in the summer or on a spring break or on the weekend or however you decide that it will work for your company. And again, as I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to have the on-the-job training if that's not something that you want to do. Maybe you just want to see the students while they're in school or have them come to an open house at your facility. Okay. So tuition assistance. With the tuition assistance, there's something called a youth apprenticeship waiver. And with the youth apprenticeship waiver, the apprentice can take up to an associate's degree at any community college throughout the state of North Carolina, and the state will pick up the tuition for that apprentice as long as they're in a registered program. And that curriculum needs to be written into your apprenticeship program. Okay. The apprentice must be registered into your apprenticeship program at least by the dates of their graduation from high school. If, in fact, since you guys have a pre-apprenticeship program, the pre-apprenticeship program gives you a little bit of a buffer. So say the kid is graduating from high school, but he's not really sure if he wants to go into an actual full-blown apprenticeship program. Then he can go into the pre-apprenticeship program to get his feet wet a little bit. And that tuition waiver still will carry him on as long as you hire him into your apprenticeship program within 120 days of the date of his graduation from high school. If he's going to go straight into a registered apprenticeship program, then he must be registered by the date of his graduation. okay? And there's a link there below if you guys want to see the legislation and things like that for that waiver. Okay, and then we have a Uscillo state expansion grant. You guys also fall into this category under logistics. And that grant, it actually gives $3,000 for curriculum education per semester. I'm sorry, that says per semester. But basically throughout their time in the apprenticeship program, or up to $1,000 for continuing education. And depending on the availability of funds, sometimes we limit it to just the tuition. But like last semester, because of COVID and everything, we didn't have a really high turnout for spending the money. It is a grant, and if you don't spend it, they might not give it back to you. So what we did was we allowed that grant funding to cover tuition, textbooks, supplies for school, and stuff like that. So that way the money was still being spent. But that will last for the duration of the program. And with this grant, they don't have to be high school students. They can be folks that are already working with you. They can be folks that you just hire who might be 25, 45, 55. It doesn't matter. They can use this grant as well. Additional benefits. If you have a veteran that is registered into your apprenticeship program, the veteran can also pull from their GI Bill benefits, which means that they can get a check and a stipend from the federal government while they're registered into your program. So they'll get your check and they'll get a check from the VA. And then there is WIOA funding that is available for dislocated workers, for individuals who fall within a low income bracket guideline. I don't have that particular information, but if you're interested in that information, our network is with Capital Area Workforce. That covers a few counties surrounding Wake County. And basically what they do is they will pay up to 6 months of wages for your apprentice if they fall within any of these guidelines, as far as dislocated workers, or they fall between this income guideline. And then there is also another program that they have that individuals may fall under, and that's the Youth Next Gen program. That's for young adults between the ages of 16 and 24. And it targets high school students that may be below the curve, and it also targets high school students who may have dropped out of high school. So if they're between the ages of 16 and 24 and they've dropped out of school, it tries to give them a leg up into trying to actually move into a career. And that's basically some more of their guidelines. So it's 50 to 75% of reimbursement for 30 days to 6 months. Okay. And your program, as it is written, it would already qualify, so there wouldn't be any additional paperwork that's necessary as far as developing that if you were wanting to use it for the WIOA purpose. And that concludes my slides. If you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I think there was a question from Jim in the chat. He says, do you have to be registered in the pre-apprentice program before graduating to apply, or can you just go straight into the apprentice program?
You can go straight into the apprentice program while you're still in high school.
So I know that Roy Jennings and Dustin Ford are both here. And our apprentice in our shop came through both of their programs. And there have been some questions or concerns about exactly the flow of paperwork and who they need to speak to. And I know they've got your contact information now. Can they get this slideshow, or can they get a basic work through manual, if you will? I don't know what their exact concerns were. I know Roy had some concerns. Roy, if you have a microphone, if you want to pipe in and share what your questions were.
Yeah, can you hear me okay, Lucas?
Yes, sir.
All right. Bridget, the apprentice, and I are both sitting in my office now. And yeah, with the program, a manual with instructions on the do's, don'ts, paperwork. The audio on the presentation was very difficult to follow. So a copy of this PowerPoint that I could read through and disseminate would be very helpful there. But basically, how do I run this program? And as of now, Miss Bridget's not been able to take advantage of the free tuition. Luckily, she's got some other financial aid in place, but has not been able to take advantage of the free tuition as being part of the apprentice. So basically, I need to know how to run and operate this program.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what needed to happen was when Bridget was in high school, that first semester that she would have been going into the community college, she would to go to the registrar's office and present her apprenticeship agreement and a copy of the apprenticeship registration. That's the one pager. And she would present that to the community college and let them know that she is a high school apprenticeship student, and that she would need to be enrolled as a WYAP student. So that's the code that they would put into the system so that the tuition is actually waived.
Okay, is there a policy and procedure manual that I can find online or maybe get emailed to me so that I have a guidebook for this program?
I'm going to send the PowerPoint that I presented to Trisha. There is a link on that PowerPoint that gives you some more guidance in what that WYAP program is all about and what the community college is.
Okay, and from what I could tell from the presentation, the work-based learning has to be part of the program at the community college for all this to work together. Is that correct?
Work-based learning. So the term work-based learning is actually, apprenticeship is work-based learning. So in short, yes. Technical terms is with state words and stuff like that. No, work-based learning and apprenticeship is different. But as far as that on-the-job training component, it is the same.
Okay, because I'm used to work-based learning being a different set of paperwork and rules compared to what I've learned so far about the apprentice program.
Yes, and it is different. It is different from your standpoint. It is different.
Okay.
And Roy, I can help you with that if when we get together. This is Rick, by the way.
Rick. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Rick.
And now that's something that has come up, with several of our apprentices, even in Wake County, where they have multiple apprentices registered. They go to register and they have their tuition waiver, and someone is there in the financial office that doesn't know about the apprenticeship programs, and they just, well, we don't know, we can't take this. And of course, they're 18, 19-year-olds, and they're, well, oh no, it doesn't work. And then they come back and they have questions. So if anybody runs into anything like that and you want to contact me, I'll see what I can do to take care of finding the right person of contact at each college to make sure that they get the thing coded correctly so that they are utilizing the tuition waiver. And if I can't figure it out, I'm Shantae, and if, you know, we just go through the chain of command until we can get everything straight at each school. But unfortunately, it is, you know, it can present a challenge because not everybody is aware in every school, in every office. So that's why we're here to help you guys with this program and make sure that everything gets done as smoothly as we can.
And this grant, this tuition waiver, it's only been in effect for about 3 years. And it hasn't been taken advantage of in all of the counties. So everybody doesn't really know exactly what to do. It's available. It's state legislation. It's available. They just sometimes don't know how to utilize it. And I serve, particularly as an apprenticeship consultant, I serve about 13 counties. There's 8 of me throughout the state. And then there's coordinators also that do somewhat of what I do for apprenticeship in C. And if you guys are in any of those, if you guys are trying to get resources in the counties that I serve, I can directly give you contacts or reach out to the person that you are having the conflict with and you know, try to smooth things over. But if it is in another region, you'll have to let me know exactly what the school is and what county it's in, so that I could reach out to the consultant in that area who may have an archive of contacts for people at that community college.
I'm Rick Shue. I am at Caldwell Community College with Roy, and I am over the apprenticeship program here for Caldwell. And we work with Sherry Phelps in our region. My question would be, I know this apprenticeship is tied to the Independent Garage Owners Association of North Carolina. Could we get a list of those participants that have signed into this apprenticeship already, so we know how to kind of support? I know Lucas is part of that up in Boone, but are there others in our area that's part of that?
You mean like as far as shops that employ apprentices currently?
Yeah, they have signed on to the apprenticeship program that have agreed to.
In your area, Lucas is the one shop that we have. Now, so we were certified as able to run this program at IGO, not last year, but the year before, 2 weeks before high school graduation.
Right.
So we scrambled and we ran out. We talked to like a few local high schools, and then Lucas had some apprentices in mind. So we were able to get, I think it was 8 kids registered for the program at that point before graduation day.
Right. Yeah.
And then the next year, which was last year, we were set to go to multiple career fairs and all these things. And of course, all the schools shut down. So we weren't really able to get in front of anybody, and it was only our second year. So we do have one apprentice from 2020, you know, that class of 2020. So that's another thing, is that we're still like, this is a little baby, brand new program.
Right.
And we really need you guys as well to help out. Like if I have a kid who reaches out to me online, I can tell them, go to a shop. You know, you don't have to be a member of IGO the second. They can join IGO.
Right.
We have groups across the state that run programs, and they're kind of turning this this free school funding into a business where they are charging businesses to participate, and they're setting up the registered apprenticeship. And they're charging somewhere like, you know, some of them up to like thousands of dollars a year for a business to participate in the program.
Right.
What we did was we said, well, that's crazy. A small, you know, independently owned automotive shop shouldn't have to pay, you know, $2,500 a year, $5,000 a year to have an apprentice work for them. That's never going to help us in the industry. So we set up our program where if you're a member and your annual membership is $350 a year, you can participate in this program. We handle all the paperwork for you. But if a shop wants to find an apprentice on their own, they can. If an apprentice wants to find a shop on their own, they can, as long as they register as a member, and we can, you know, take care of the paperwork from there.
Right. Okay. Well, that's what I needed to know. I mean, I'd love to jump in and help support, you know, your apprenticeship and help Roy with his program as well. So I know we'll be talking, and I may have questions, and I'll get back with you, and Lucas, I'll be getting in touch with you for sure.
Yeah,
Sounds
that would
good.
be That would be great. And like I said, and anyone in any part of the state, if you know someone, if you are, on a board or for some kind of educational promotion, we're just trying to provide the industry with more extremely qualified technicians in the future. So,
yeah.
We would love to get more people involved.
Well, and here's the thing is if you need help, if you got a shop that wants to bring somebody on, and I've got a couple shops in Lenore I can talk to and see if we can get something moving. I know Roy knows lots of shops down there, but we can begin to work with some of those shops and make that happen. And I think the key is that if they don't get a taste of what the industry is like and they don't get their feet wet in the industry early, a lot of times they'll get kind of pulled away into other types of trade schools. Right. And that's something that Roy and I have talked about many times. And those trade schools don't serve their students well. So we want to make sure that we keep them in the community college system, which is designed to create a quality technician that fits our needs in the field. And we want to work to make everybody's life better. Right. We want to give them a guide plan and a way to move forward, a curriculum and a process to move through. I'm going to tell you right now, and I posted in the chat, and I mean this when I say it, our operation could not function the way it does without Bridget working in our shop. It just would not be as efficient as it is. So those of you that are in a shop and you're considering bringing an apprentice on, I hear a lot of times folks will say, well, but an apprentice is a lot of work and you have to do this and you have to do that. While we need to put the systems in place that help us guide them through the process without it being an additional task for the owner, service writer, technician, whatever that is, and make it manageable, I'm going to tell you right now, they are valuable. They bring value to your operation, and it is a really amazing process. The other thing is it builds culture in your shop. Because when you take a technician and you take somebody young like that and you put them out there and say, hey, I want you to be part of teaching them how to do this, it emboldens that technician. They really feel like, hey, I'm a part of the industry. I'm not just out here working on a car. I'm more than that. So I think it's really important that we continue to push for this. We find shops in all the areas of North Carolina, and Rick, Roy, Dustin, if y'all have shops that are interested, I'm happy to go talk to them and do whatever I can to get them set up.
That sounds good.
So, and again, these, the kids, they have to learn somewhere. They're either going to learn in your shop, which is also going to be, it could also have its fair share of trouble. At least this way, that your new technicians that are just starting out are getting an educational component as well as the in-person training. And down the road, they aren't going to have these gaps in their knowledge like someone who just came, right from their high school into the shop might. So, I think we're going to end up with a lot of really well-rounded technicians if we can just, get the word out about the program, and also that it is reasonable and affordable for shop owners as opposed to some of the other things that they might have heard, to kind of, maybe, stifle down some bad knowledge, I guess, like, oh, it's really expensive to have an apprentice, or I can't afford that kind of thing. And we really try to make it as easy as possible, because our job is just to promote and help the automotive industry. That's our only intention as an association.
I have one more question, and I hate to be, but can we get a copy of the apprenticeship agreement, like what the wage scale and things like that that's tied to the program?
We have a website, it's ncautoapprentice.com, and that has all the forms on there. That's got the task list and the agreement and the shop agreement, so everybody can download if you want. You have somebody that wants to sign up, you have an apprentice that you're ready to hire, any of that stuff is available there.
Okay.
And Jim's absolutely right. I honestly think it probably starts in middle school, right? When I started working on cars, my dad was saying, son, if you don't start putting some of these cars back together, we're not going to have anything to drive. And, I was 10 years old. I was tearing everything apart. So I think it starts a lot younger than that. And I think that bringing them in and giving them that opportunity to see and shadow and watch kind of what's happening starts something bigger and gets them fired up and gets them started. And a lot of kids don't get that opportunity now. And I think it's sad, because I think a lot of the kids that may be coming into our industry or used to come into our industry, much like probably you and I got started in it, as we got started by getting our hands dirty, if they don't have that opportunity, they never know. And I've got guys who would never have been happy in a 4-year type of degree. They would have never been happy wearing a suit and tie all day. right? They enjoy what they do. And I think that in many ways, we look at the trades as a consolation prize to a 4-year degree. And that's just not the case. You can earn a good living in the trades. I definitely think that we see some other educators and we see some guidance counselors and such that say, oh, well, maybe you're not cut out for a 4-year degree. Let's stick you over here in the trades. Right. And that's sad to me. I would encourage anybody who has questions or concerns. I mean, I think we flesh all this out right here, right now. If you've got questions, concerns, hey, speak up and ask them, right? Because right now is the time to talk about it and get this program moving in the right direction. So, I would love to hear feedback from everybody in the room.
Tricia, I don't have any concerns. This is Frank Scaletti. I'm Jim's counterpart for the community college system, but I will send Roy and anybody else that's interested. I see Egan and some other Hill and some of the other Gary, Potter, Grant. You're all on this webinar, but I'll send you the waiver form, the waiver document if you don't have it. That includes the youth apprenticeship waiver that states they have to begin in high school. With 120 days of graduation, they can get up to a free associate's degree, which I would think would be important to the employers. This is almost, as a former shop owner, I hired young high school students, and so it kind of mirrors what they're doing in the dealerships. This is nothing new. It's great that the IGO is involved, and that independent shops like I owned are also getting on board. There's PTE courses now that we've just had approved that Perkins, our federal grant money, will pay $10,000 per college colleges that are interested in putting students in a pathway to employment course, which can serve as a pre-apprenticeship. It's like the curriculum for the pre-apprenticeship. Roy, you can enroll your students. You can enroll 20 students in a course, have them in a PTE course, and maybe only 1 or 2 are interested in a shop, working at a local shop. But that's 1 or 2 that they'll earn credit for, and then you'll be able to have that student inserted in the high school so that they can gain the youth apprenticeship waiver by the time they graduate. So it's you stick your flag in the ground there, and that'll create that timeline that they need to start while in high school.
Yeah, I really agree with that, Frank. And I tell you something, one of the things that I have heard a lot from shop owners, I'm a member of the Auto Shop Owners group on Facebook. And in that group, we have almost 5,000 members. And one of the common things we hear is, well, I don't know, are they proficient? And I don't know that they're going to be a good fit. And I think these programs provide a pathway for the shop owner to be able to understand that. And, guys, we're hearing it every single day from shops. We can't find technicians, right? And it is time that we begin to grow our technicians. We begin to teach these young incoming technicians the way that we've learned and move forward with the industry, because there is going to come a time that you're going to have a really hard time finding technicians. And I'm not talking about a hard time like we're having now. A few years back, I heard Ron Hagan speak. He used to own Westside Auto Pros, and he said something that really stood out to me. He said that he went to hire went to request that a repairman come out to his place to fix an oven. And he said the truck pulled up, and he said, I knew I was in trouble because it was one of my ex-technicians. And he said he walked up and he said, what are you doing? You quit. Why are you working for an oven repair place? And he said, well, Ron, see, they give me a truck and they pay for my tools and they pay for my training. And all I have to do is walk in here and push a button on your oven and it tells me what's wrong. I just order the parts and I come back. I make $80,000 a year. I get all this time off. I get weekends off. Right. And so I think the automotive field has lagged behind. And I think it's time that independent shops, fleet shops, and dealer shops recognize that it's going to take a lot more than just pay to get these guys back in the door, because we've not treated them properly. The apprenticeship program is the pathway to allow us to do that. And it allows us to bring up the best technicians that we've ever seen. Right. The technology is getting so difficult at this point in time that we're not grease monkeys anymore. And we need to start showing consumers that now.
Yeah, and to speak, Dustin had a comment about, running into a lot of kids that get interested in the industry from working with their parents or working with their lawnmowers in the neighborhood. My son is actually in our apprenticeship program. He started this year, and he is the kid who went around and found lawnmowers on the side of the road and takes them apart and fixes them and then sells them for cheap back to people in the neighborhood. So, maybe this is a topic for another Zoom, but good ideas for getting even the younger kids in the middle schools and the high schools, how can we get back out there and get this word out as early as possible? Just being involved in your community, participating in things like, any small motors kind of class, but even science Olympiads and robotics and things like that. Kids build things, and you're going to find the kids that are interested, because, fixing cars nowadays is much more like a robotics program than it is just putting things together like it used to be. And you have to have kids that are good, technologically, minded kids who are going to be able to work on the cars of the future. So any way that you guys can get involved the high schools and stuff like that would be amazing.
Yeah. And I've got to say this to the shop owners in the group, to the other folks who may not own a shop, maybe you're a service writer, maybe you're an educator that's not in public education. Join the advisory council, right? And go down there and see what's going on and have an understanding of it. And you will learn so much, not only about our industry, but about the future of our industry and about the challenges faced by educators. You need to be involved, right? And I've heard shop owner after shop owner say, man, what are they teaching these kids? Well, if you went to the advisory council meeting, you'd know. I've never been invited. Did you ever ask? It's your responsibility. So get involved. Don't just sit around and wait for something to happen. You have to be involved in it. And the first step is being in a meeting like this. So
one thing that I wanted to touch bases on before everybody left is that you guys are a very big association. And you guys can partner together in your specific region, the counties that are close into a more urban area, to where you guys can develop some type of consortium with a specific community college, so that you guys can say, hey, look, we've got 12 kids that we're going to be putting through your program, and we want you to give them classes only on Fridays. That is something that is going on already throughout the state. If you guys pull together to make that happen, you guys can dictate when you want your kids to go to class. They don't have to leave early Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then only can work one day of the week, a full day. You guys have so much more power than you guys understand. And I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's fantastic advice.
Yeah.
So I'd like to throw something in. We ready?
Yes, John, go ahead.
We are having a lot of struggle in Guilford County. We're not in the classroom, and the instructors are falling apart. Our tech prep administrators have all been let go, reorganized, and it's in shambles. And it's got a lot to do with the pandemic. And I think, Jim Presley, you can attest to it. Guilford County is probably the least organized compared to what we were 3 years ago, with Bob being let go. And how do we get that back? Who can help us? Because we lost all our momentum. And especially with the pandemic, all the instructors seriously are just flat out burned out, especially with their introductory classes. And we're not getting to the students. We're losing a lot of opportunity. And I realize that people that are on this car really don't have a lot of control, but we need help. We got to reach these people, and our students are not likely to get back in the classroom in our county until January at best.
John, we can talk about. I lost volume.
I can hear you.
Good.
We can talk. It's back to what Lucas was saying, is it's getting involved in each what's in your backyard. and so we can talk and figure out, you know, where issues are and what's going on. You know, this right now it's a crazy time with COVID, and there's instructors have so many challenges going on right now with teaching virtually and hybrid where it's split and times are changing. You know, one day it might be they have students in class and the next day they're going completely hybrid. I think Rockingham County just changed back over to virtual. So, but it's something we can talk about and figure out how to figure out challenges.
So I do have a question now, Shantae, thinking about that. Are you there? Did you step away for a second?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Here.
So what I want to know is, considering that classes have been kind of curtailed by the pandemic, I know, for example, at Wake Tech, they're half online. Like for automotive, I think they have like a lab where they may go in person, but I'm not even sure if that's still happening, because my son is still in the gen ed classes because they didn't have room in the automotive. So the automotive classes are half the size that they were, and they were already on a wait list. So with the programs having a time frame, how does that work itself out into these apprenticeships? Will they just be elongated? Is that like kind of taken into consideration when they get the tuition waiver, that it may go on for longer?
Yes, that's taken into consideration. As long as they're registered in at least one class, it will carry the tuition waiver will carry over.
So they'll, as long as they have one class, they can one class at a time until they've completed everything. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Lucas, I'd like to throw something out.
Of course.
This is, I'm going to direct this to you, but it's really for the entire group. I'm Randy Briggs. I manage the Research Center for CarQuest Technical Institute, by the way, and thanks for having me on the meeting today. I'm all for a structured apprenticeship program, but here's my question to Lucas, and for the rest of the group, my suspicion is you're either going to say to yourself, oh, I have that information, or, oh, I need that information. And it revolves around a mentor. Lucas, how do you build a good mentor? Because the success and quality of the mentor is just as important as the success and quality of that student coming into your shop. And the mentor is not always the oldest guy in the shop.
That's absolutely right. And you know, something really interesting. I was listening to your vice president of human resources in a podcast the other day where she was talking about mentors and sponsors. If you've not heard that yet, man, it's killer. You got to go listen to it. Now, that being said, I have found that we have put in place some of the best technicians I've ever worked with. And in our case, we just got extremely lucky because they weren't money motivated. They were motivated by doing what was best for their customers and what was best for their teammates. And so when we brought in a mentor, we realized, hey, listen, in our shop, we've got 100-hour-a-year minimum of training. Now, we're not going to talk about this year, right? We've done every CarQuest thing. We've done every WorldPack thing. It's hard to get 100 hours on a Zoom meeting. Trust me, it's tough. But I will say that we educate them together. And we educate the front of the house and the back of the house together, and we give them experiences on both sides. So the apprentice works with that technician. And when you ask about a mentor, we start with the culture of the shop and building the mentor. And what I mean by that is like I said, they're committed to doing what's best for their customer. They are working for their shop. It's not my shop, right? And so with that culture, it's created something different here. And they understand that they're teaching the next generation. And it's very important that when they teach Bridget something, they teach her the right way to do it. And if they don't know, it's really interesting to see, because a true mentor will stop if they don't know the answer to a question, and they'll go find the answer. They'll point them in the direction they need to go to find the answer. So that's been something that I wish I could tell you how to do it. it came from an amazing team with an amazing culture just because we believed in doing what was right here.
Well, it sounds like you have an awesome model, and I recognize that a good mentor does not mean you go down a checklist of qualities. It is kind of magical, as you said.
Absolutely. And we came down there. I think the last time we were at the Research and Development Center, we took everybody into a room, and Jim Concona sat down and he drew up this thing on the whiteboard about this process of testing. Right. And I'm sure you've seen it. We've all got it saved on our cell phones. And on that whiteboard, he went through the processes of diagnostics. And then he turned around and he looked at everybody in the room, but he said, this is the process that you use for everything in life. Right. And it was an amazing thing because as they went through that, I think Bridget grew from it. I think all the technicians grew from it. But Jim's leadership through this for us, and Peter's leadership through this for us when we first started on this pathway, was a really powerful tool because they sat us down and said, hey, this is bigger than what you realize when you go to teach somebody else. Here's the pathway. And that has been phenomenal for the shop. And I think the guys really took it to heart when they came back into the shop. Not only did their diagnostics improve just from an hour conversation, but their thought process when mentoring and teaching the next generation of technicians completely changed. Okay.
I'll share that message with Jim and Pete. Lucas, thank you. And I'll
Yes,
look forward to talking to you offline about this.
Absolutely,
a little more.
Sir. Absolutely.
Jim, by the way, Jim Presley just put up a link to SP2, a mentorship article. So everybody can see that in chat. Thank you, Jim.
So SP2 had a online course with mentoring that they were getting out there, it went over the different areas with mentoring and students and the mentor and the management and everything else. So I don't know where that sits right now. Haven't talked with Kyle lately, but that was a link. I'll reach out and get more info.
We initially went through that. So I went through the program.
Okay.
And it was a powerful program. At the time, it was free. Like you said, I've not talked to Kyle either in a long time, but at the time that we registered for it, it was free. I'm not sure if it still is or not, but it was a very powerful program. But I've got to say that just a few minutes with some true educators and them giving us perspective on leading. And that's why I say the advisory council is so important. Going and touring somewhere like the Research and Development Center with folks who have been in education for a long time or see what it is that these technicians need and the way that they learn. Right. Because I think one of the biggest things that the shop owners miss is they bring somebody in and they say, go out there and fix that. Right. And when I started coaching with my shop coach, he said, your biggest problem is you bring new people in, you take them to the end of the dock, you kick them off the edge of the dock and say, I hope you can swim. Right. And that was my biggest problem is I continued to do that over and over again. And that's not how people learn. Right. And in some cases we learn that way, but it's a very, very important process to learn and understand how we learn. Right. And if you understand that when you go to teach a new technician, a new apprentice, how something works and why we do it this way, it makes life not only a lot easier, but it makes it more fulfilling for both parties involved.
This is Roy. I just wanted to chime in for a second and say I appreciate all the information in the last hour. Miss Bridget and I need to go to class right now, but I'd like to get involved with more of this conversation and learn more about the process so that we can do it and do it right, both for the college and for the community. And you made Bridget blush, bragging on
Well, that don't take much. All she's got to do is let her hair down over her face and she's blushing.
Well, yeah, she's looking like Cousin Ed over here with that long hair down over her face, but
well, now that I know we can have her 5 days a week and you can teach her on Saturday, we'll just make sure she's working more.
As long as she can rake leaves and get my laundry done, everything will be good.
Oh, Lord, I don't even want to envision that.
But she is one worth bragging over. We are proud of her here at the school, and I know Lucas is.
Absolutely.
This is a good thing to get off the ground and just get everybody educated on what we need to do. And Frank, I'd like to learn more about this PTE program that you were talking about, and get some more information on that. Anything we can do to learn and grow. And, for those with the community college system, some of the instructors I see on here across the state, Carl and in all, if there's anything that we can do to help each other during times of the pandemic, with resources or thoughts or just a shoulder to cry on, reach out to me, and let's lean on each other and do what we can for our students.
And if anybody on here, just to bring up as well, Roy, if anybody is an educator and they're not a member for IGONC, you have the ability to be a free educational member. So please make sure that you sign up so that you do get the information when we put it out about the apprentice program, and that we can add you to our private Facebook IGONC members only group, because then we can get you in on all of this and we can really work together more efficiently.
Absolutely. It's been a blast, everybody.
Does anybody else have any last questions? No?
Thank you so much, Shantae. Thanks a lot, Jim. You really helped out with a lot of links and information today.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure.
Good seeing everybody. I don't get to see anybody anymore. I'm locked up here in the mountains, can't go anywhere. So hopefully we'll see all of y'all very soon.
We'll see you in the spring, probably.
Thanks, Maddie. Thanks, Lucas. Thanks, Tricia. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, it was very helpful.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
Thank y'all.
Take care.